world post-COVID-19, certain skills will be even more important, and companies are under pressure to become more agile and continuously deliver innovation to the market. The big question is, what are the skills required by employers? What are the skills required by employers today? How do you upscale yourself in a world today? What type of platforms are most valuable to develop yourself for? What qualifications are your employers looking for? I'm delighted to introduce Debbie Mannas, Head of Organization Development and Talent at Sun Life Asia. Debbie has spent the last 17 years in HR positions. She's passionate about building and leading strong teams, arming people with professional development. She's currently designing and deploying transformational learning strategies for reskilling and upskilling employees across Asia to face the demands of the digital enterprise. Outside of work, she is a mother, a poet, a singer, and a songwriter, amongst many other facets. She's also the founder of Imtech, I Am More Than a Cover, and Empowering, which is an empowering e-zine for girls and young women. So let us welcome Debbie.
That warm introduction. I'm okay. And thank you to LSF and Alok and Jyoti who invited me to speak today, and to William for all of his help. I have about, 15 or 20 minutes to set some context around what's changed and how we work, and share from my research and what we look for at Sun Life, and what skills are most useful right now. What we're also doing at Sun Life to develop our people. As you may have heard, I wear many hats, but every single one of them has been a learning journey for me. And I hope some of that journey will resonate as I discuss what you can do to empower yourself to build skills and resilience. So this is my slides. I'm going to that one. Yay, it works. But first, can we, I think we've covered this, what changed and how we work, etc. Can we play the video? Quick one on Sun Life. Oh, it's inside. I need to just keep going. Pardon me. It's taking some time to load. There you go. Thank you. That was a little something about the wonderful company I work for that really, really believes in empowering and brightening its people's lives. So I need to move to the next one. He's doing this slowly. Okay. So I'm pretty sure all of you know what the industrial revolutions are, and what the first, second, and third ones were about. We are now witnessing the super fast advance of the fourth one, and maybe even the fifth one. But let me say, if you have been affected by COVID and by changes, my heart bleeds for you and for all the friends and families that I know. I have dozens of friends who've been struggling for months now. I'm a musician myself, but I'm in the lucky position of having a full-time job that can support me, and I'm lucky to still be in it. But my musician friends have had multiple events canceled. I have cabin crew friends who've suddenly found themselves out of jobs. Entire teams in the corporate space have been let go. People even in the training world, for example, as training pivoted, have lost their spaces, their jobs, business. So there are people who with transferable skills, we call them fungible. That's a new buzzword, that have found different things to do, and technology has enabled that. But the reality is, COVID, though it was the cause of much grief and unemployment, it has given wings to the the times we're living in, the fourth industrial revolution. We've been hearing the internet of all things, big data, thick data. You've heard of fintech, all of these things, but that was always somebody else doing it. A constant struggle in companies is, how do you make all employees understand their place, and the things they need to do to change how they think and how they do things all along the value chain to deliver to clients. And what has happened is, COVID has advanced that. Um, some say that we are even a blend of revolutions. We may be even headed towards a fifth revolution, where AI and humans work together to learn from each other, where you will expect new generations to be disrupting things and demanding that governments come together to solve complex human problems like poverty and pandemics. We're right in the thick of one, and we can see how governments have come together. The environment, we can see how fast it takes to go from sequencing a genome to delivering a vaccine with a will. And that's because governments have come together and financed it, when otherwise it would have taken 10 years just to cut through the bureaucracy. So we are now evolving super fast, where we will get to an age where we will go beyond tech, and we will come back to human values. And we are seeing that in action right now as we speak. So what are companies? Whoops, what happened? I need to go past to slide. Yep, after this. The white one goes next. Right. So what are companies looking for? Again, none of this is a big secret, right? We know for that we've been talking about growth mindset, critical thinking, creativity, storytelling for years and years and years. But now companies are actively looking for people that can demonstrate this, and be the author of their own fate and destiny, and demonstrate ways in which they have unlearned to learn. And so that is a quality of growth mindset. What can you discard so that you can build new muscle? So companies can either beg, I won't say beg, borrow, build, or buy skills, right? As in not beg, borrow, steal, although that is true too. Uh, but the obvious solution, of course, is to upskill, reskill, and repurpose employees, because that's the way you can. It's cost effective. Employees have cultural, the background of the company, but they need employees to demonstrate that they are the right people with the right mindsets and skills to adapt to new ways of working. So companies are taking action. Last year in 2019, research shows that about 14% of the population were upskilled. And this year in 2020, that number has jumped to around 38%. So you see companies are really focusing on driving the skills that will take them and allow them to stay relevant in this new era. We have seen companies that are not able to deliver virtually to clients, that are not able to change and pivot on the way they do things, have lost business and folded, whereas other companies, particularly tech companies that tapped into distance, that tapped into remote learning, that tapped into innovation, are thriving now. And this is, again, nothing new. We've seen companies come and go through history as industrial revolutions changed the face of how things were done. Another trend we're seeing is that companies, while they are getting people to learn and enabling them and creating ways for them to learn, they are also creating ways for their own employees to drive their own learning and take charge of their own development. And this is really interesting, because you can see this happening um, in the rate that people are going onto the internet and driving their own learning. So there's a couple of companies that I researched. Um, they are called MOOCs, massive online massive online learning companies, that platforms that allow you to go in and have free access to any number of courses. So one of them is Udemy, which we are exploring, and the other one is Coursera, which we are partnering with. So Udemy actually has an interesting research, which you can see at the bottom, the link there, of workplace learning trends. And I went before I came here, and dug out some research. The key learning trends are self-mastery, remote collaboration, data literacy, data science, automation, hybrid tech roles, and cyber security urgency. I need to remember to click this. In self-mastery, we've been talking about mental wellness and, mindfulness and all of this for I don't know, I can remember 10 years ago when people had workshops around it. But COVID has advanced the rate of anxiety and stress and burnout. And on these platforms, you can see an uptick of 4-digit percentage increases from 2019 last year. Mental wellness and productivity are key. Self-management is really key in how you deliver at work, because if you can't manage that in your mind, your chance of innovating, creating, and thinking of new ways of doing things that would make you valuable to a company decreases. So you can see that people understand this. They know that this is in demand, and so they've gone after it. The next one is remote collaboration, communication, and leadership skills. Again, nothing new here. We know this. We know the theory, but remote learning and virtual teams have brought this into stark relief. You know that teams across countries, boundaries, cultures are now expected to work together on projects. Travel has essentially come to a standstill. What really jumps out here is two key things that are really in focus now. It's cultural awareness and diversity and inclusion. And ironically, when leaders in the world are focused on division, technology has made it possible to unite. In fact, because of costs, because of speed, because of availability of skills, companies are increasingly going across borders, and virtual teams are increasingly working together. So if you don't build your DNI, so that's diversity and inclusion, and cultural awareness muscle, what's going to happen is you will take yourself out of the running. You will find it difficult to work with other teams, and you will be less valuable to companies who need that skill. So you've lost an opportunity, because there is always going to be somebody else who can work across borders, and they will be in the running ahead of you. So you can see the huge uptick again, because people are realizing this. But how much are you realizing it? That's, again, it's the theory, and how much are you practicing it? So that's something to think about too. The next one is data literacy. I'm sure you've heard this before. I did, so I'm not going to dwell a lot. But data is the new oil. But it's not enough to pull the data. And the speaker before me talked about SAP. It's not enough to pull the data, and it's not enough to understand that analytics are important. You actually have to interpret it and make meaning of it. So I see I have 3 minutes. Wow, that went fast. The next one is data science automation, the skills that are necessary um, for automation to take place so that people pay less attention to acquiring the data and more attention to resolving problems that the data is showing them. And finally, roles are expected to be hybrid. In business parlance, we talk about two in a box where IT and business work together to resolve issues where before they worked in silos. That has changed. And so it's just even IT teams working across IT disciplines. So here is another example of what's of uptake. And finally, cybersecurity um, for IT teams and even people in the organization, especially people in the organization, to protect their own data, to understand the importance of the skills involved in security and learning how to protect yourself in the company, especially at the time of working from home. So I'm not going to go through this, but maybe my deck can be shared later. But this is from Coursera, and these are the kinds of top courses that are being used or adapted to or viewed in Coursera. With at Sun Life, we have identified 7 core capabilities that we want to drive, and they're all aligned to what I just spoke about. And we have divided our employees into different segments according to how they learn and what they need to do differently. So I showcased a number of skills that are necessary, but not everybody needs to know those skills in depth. But everybody needs to be aware of what is required in today's world. And so we've divided our employees and we have different ways of delivering those skills to them according to what their needs are, right? And finally, I know I'm very close to out of time. This is a really large subject, but I have some strategies that work for me, and I'm trying to share this. I hope it will resonate for you. 3 things to build skills and resilience if you are employed and if you are not. So if you are employed, think about signing up for gigs. Gigs are short-term projects or assignments that another team is running that you may have transferable skills for, that you can do along with your current job and spend maybe an hour or 3 hours a week on a gig so that you build new skills, new muscles. You can understand how a new discipline works. The second one is try a side hustle. So if you have a talent or a passion or a hobby, I'm here to tell you that a side hustle is hugely empowering. You meet completely different people. You have the joy of doing something you love. You learn a whole new skill set that you can bring back into work. Me personally, creativity, working with different teams, the musician friends I know from all around the world, doing things that empower you and make you somebody more than your work title or your mother title or your wife title or whatever title, right? This is you. So it's just amazing that the strengths it can give to you. The other one is volunteer. I think you heard in the previous speaker talk about networking. Volunteering is a way first of giving back, and wherever you are in your life, somebody is always worse off than you. So it's a way of giving back, but you also meet the most wonderful people when you volunteer, and you build skills talking to diverse people. So you know that diversity muscle that I was talking about. Here are ways of building that beyond going for a course. So these are suggestions to implement, the theory. If you're not employed, explore a MOOC such as Coursera or Udemy. They're all free. They are free for the public. Companies have to subscribe, but mostly public can go in and they're free. And you get certificate. If you pay a little bit of money, you can get a certificate. And Coursera certifications are the most viewed and valued certifications on LinkedIn. The other thing is once you've learned, teach someone. If you don't have someone to teach a cat, because um, speaking about what you've learned actually creates connections in your brain, and then you know how you can you pass it on. It cements your learning. And finally, think of talent as a service. There are platforms called talent as a service. We know, platforms as a service, software as a service, all of these things as a service. And now the newest one is talent as a service, where you can actually cheaply or at no cost at all sign up to a network which acts as an intermediary and patches you through with companies that are looking to get services at hourly rates, because we have a skills and talent dearth right now. So think of it like that and Google it. I don't have enough time to explain exactly what that is, but so here are some of the things. I hope they resonate, and my time is up. Any questions?
Well, thank you so much, Debbie. That was insightful. It was good to hear these changing trends and perspectives, and also some of the strategies that you shared, in terms of upskilling through Udemy and Coursera. We do have a couple of questions, but we've got time for one. So I'm going to ask, are there a list of industries which are getting most affected by AI so that we can start preparing for them and upskilling for them through Coursera and Udemy and all of those other online platforms? So let me just repeat that. Are there any list of industries that are getting most affected by AI so that we can start preparing for upskilling?
I honestly, yeah, to pull that out of a hat is difficult for me. I'm from the insurance industry, and it is going to be facing disruptions very soon. It is a little bit behind the curve when it comes to AI. But if you look at, for example, how claims are processed, so how people figure out whether a claim is fraudulent or a person is fraudulent, AI has made it possible to look across social media, look at where somebody was when an accident happened, for example.
Sure.
That's an example of how fast we need to be changing products and deliver, so that we can process claims and deliver to customers super fast using AI, right? There's the medical industry. There are, I actually don't think there's any industry that's not going to be disrupted.
Fair enough.
So, and that boat has sailed. So I think people should start preparing already.
Absolutely.
No, thank you so much for that. I mean, the common themes today has truly been upskilling. And another theme has been about making sure to look at, platforms like Coursera and Udemy. There was a question that came up earlier as well, which was, are Coursera courses, qualified, and how do corporates or companies look at them? And I'm so glad that you were able to nail it, to say that they are, in fact, worth your qualification, worth your time, worth to bring in that value into the company.
Yeah, we have partnered with Coursera, and by the way, they're not paying me, for our leaders. So what we've done is we've curated some courses. You saw the list. You can't possibly go through all of them, but we've curated them along the lines of the 7 capabilities that we want to build. Each course could be anything from 8 to 12 hours, so it's very intense. They deliver mastery, so it's not an awareness thing. They actually teach people how to do things differently. And so, but you really need to take the time. It's fairly intense. They have forums where you can communicate and build communities. There are assignments which are rated. So it's not an easy thing to just get a certification.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for delivering the importance of certification and upskilling. Thank you so much for your time, Debbie. We really enjoyed having you here. As we turn to our new segment, we're going to take a short 5-minute break and bring you back to an open forum of any burning discussions or questions that you may have. Thank you so much, Debbie.
Thank you.